The Whispering Woods. The woods behind my grandmother's house were the stuff of nightmares. Ancient, gnarled trees seemed to claw at the sky, their branches casting eerie, elongated shadows in the fading light. The forest was dense, with a heavy silence that hung in the air like a shroud. One summer, I decided to explore those woods. My curiosity got the better of me, and I ventured deeper than I ever had before. The farther I went, the more the woods seemed to close in around me, as if they were swallowing me whole. That's when I heard it, the whispering, faint at first, like the distant murmur of a crowd. But it grew louder, more distinct, until I could make out individual voices. They weren't speaking any language I knew. It was like a chorus of the damned. I tried to backtrack, but the trees shifted, their branches forming an impenetrable barrier. Panic set in as the whispers grew louder, closer. I felt a cold breath on my neck, and a hand, icy and skeletal, brushed against my shoulder. I screamed and ran, crashing through the underbrush, desperate to escape the malevolent presence that lurked in those woods. When I finally burst through the tree line, I turned to look back, and the forest was still and silent, as if nothing had ever happened. But the whispers haunted me, lingering in my ears long after I had left the woods. They whispered in my dreams, in the shadows of my room, and in the corners of my mind. A reminder that some secrets are best left buried in the deep woods. The Hunter's Curse. I had always been an avid hunter, spending my weekends deep in the woods, tracking game and reveling in the solitude of nature. But one fateful weekend, the woods changed me forever. It started like any other hunting trip. I set out before dawn, armed with my rifle and the sense of excitement. The forest was dense and untamed, a place where few ventured. As I tracked a deer, I noticed an odd symbol carved into a tree, a twisted, gnarled shape that sent a shiver down my spine. Ignoring it, I continued my pursuit, but the woods seemed to shift around me. The trees closed in, and the sky darkened as if a storm was brewing. That's when I saw him, a figure in tattered clothing, his face obscured by a hood. He moved silently, effortlessly, like a wraith in the shadows. I raised my rifle, my heart pounding, but before I could take a shot, he vanished into thin air. I was left standing there, my senses on edge, feeling as though I was being watched. As the days passed, I became consumed by an unshakable feeling of dread. The symbol on the tree haunted my dreams, and I couldn't escape the sensation that I was being hunted. The forest itself seemed to turn against me, with branches reaching out to trip me and unseen forces pushing me deeper into its heart. One night, as I lay in my tent, I heard a voice, a low, guttural whisper that seemed to come from all around me. It spoke in a language I couldn't understand, but its intent was clear. It wanted me gone. Terrified, I packed up my gear and fled the woods, leaving behind my love of hunting and the cursed symbol. To this day, I can't shake the feeling that I brought something malevolent back with me. Something that lurked in those deep woods, waiting for its next victim. The cabin in the pines. My friends and I decided to spend a weekend at a remote cabin, nestled deep in the pine woods. It was a cozy place, with a crackling fireplace and a sense of isolation that promised a break from the hustle and bustle of city life. On the first night, we gathered around the fire, sharing stories and laughter. But as the night wore on, a sense of unease settled over us. The forest outside was eerily quiet, as if it held its breath, waiting. That's when we heard the scratching of faint, persistent sound coming from the walls of the cabin. At first, we dismissed it as the wind, but it grew louder. More insistent. It sounded like something was trying to claw its way inside. We searched the cabin, but there was nothing there, and the scratching continued. It seemed to move, as if whatever was causing it was circling the cabin. Panic set in as we realized that we were not alone in those woods. As the scratching grew louder, we huddled together, our flashlights scanning the darkness outside. That's when we saw it, a figure, tall and gaunt, standing just beyond the glow of our lights. Its eyes glinted with a malevolent hunger, and it grinned, revealing rows of sharp, gleaming teeth. We ran, leaving behind our belongings and the cabin in the pines. We didn't stop until we reached the nearest town, where we told our story to the locals. They nodded gravely, as if they had heard it all before, and warned us never to return to those woods. To this day, I can't shake the feeling that the cabin in the pines was a gateway to something darker. Something that lurked in the depths of the forest, waiting for unsuspecting souls to wander too close.